Hello, friends. A little emergency session here at Kirby Russia as the forces of the Russian Federation have taken control of Avdeevka extremely and unexpectedly quickly. So that's our topic for discussion today. As you can see, it's daytime here. Usually I don't like to record during the day because the sun is brutal. I kind of found a little partial solution, but anyways, I never like the way these videos look during the day. But anyways, the sun has risen over Avdeevka, driving away neo-Nazis and other bizarre manifestations of this Kiev regime from Avdeevka. But why is this so important? You know, the Russians are making minor advances every day on the entire front line, be it a kilometer here, kilometer there. Why is this so important? Well, one of the things is that Avdeevka is very symbolic because it is the sort of launching point from which the Ukrainian forces have mainly conducted all of their attacks on the Donbass since the Maidan Revolution, or I should say maybe more accurately, since the beginning of what they called then, in 2014, 2015, the anti-terrorist operation, because from Kiev's perspective, the forces that rose up against the Maidan Revolution in the Donbass were well, they still consider them, I guess, terrorists, and so they launched essentially their forces against them, because we can't forget that despite the way the Western mainstream media portrays this war, there has been violence in the Donbass since 2014. There's been essentially war there, just on a more slow, stalemated level since 2014 in the Donbass. So we can't forget that. And most of the rocket, artillery, barrages, and launches that came safely from Kiev's side to kill local civilians, for the most part, have been blamed by Avdeevka. Or at least that's what Russian analysts tell us here. You know, the Russian media, like any form of media, can sometimes lie on accident, sometimes lie on purpose, but essentially Avdeevka has always been portrayed as the sort of central hub of all operations, the really one of the most highly defended points, where over that span between 2014 and the start of the war in 2022, the Kiev regime had plenty of time to build up a lot of defenses. So in some ways, it's actually surprising how quickly Avdeevka fell. A lot of people are making this sort of meme joke on the internet about how Zelensky supposedly took like selfies around the road signs, you know, that say like "Welcome to Avdeevka," just about like a month or a little over a month ago from the point when the city fell. Obviously, this is going much faster than Mariupol, which required months of trying to surround, cut off, and eventually go deep underneath the steel plant there and go through all that stuff, all those tunnels and catacombs to try to root out whoever was remaining there. And obviously, Bakhmut was an extremely intense fight, very sort of Stalingrad-esque sort of fight to the bitter end, which took quite a lot of time and resources and manpower and this, that, and the other. And this time it took about a month, and it wasn't even the most brutal month, which again gives us hope that maybe all this killing and madness and warfare is coming to an end, because Kiev simply doesn't have the forces to defend it. Another thing that's right now very, let's say, dark humor on the Russian internet is how there are a lot of videos of the Ukrainian private battalions, i.e. the neo-Nazi battalions, as they advanced, going towards Avdeevka, as if they were going to make the breakthrough difference. And then they show the video where, with broken tanks, some of which were somehow operational yet burning, which is an interesting phenomenon, left Avdeevka. Now, this is also in connection with the whole change of command within the Ukrainian military, where Zelensky fired or asked Zaluzhny to quit, because, interestingly enough, Syrskyi came in, said he was going to defend Avdeevka like to the last man, and then just gave up, which is funny. But what I'm trying to say is that Zaluzhny had a lot more of, let's just say, the approval of sort of these private battalions, and some speculated that Syrskyi actually didn't quite have their favor. So what does that mean? It means that maybe Syrskyi sent them in to the fray to either keep them busy so they won't try to cause a revolution at home, or to kill them off. So who knows what's going on with this sort of internal politics, but really since Mariupol, when a lot of those types of individuals were sort of trapped within the Russian advance, right? They couldn't get out. For the most part, the supposedly bravest warriors have mostly done that sort of commissariat work of sitting behind the lines and making sure that no one runs away. And if they do, they get shot, or making sure that the conscripts go into the process of being conscripted. You know, not exactly the let's just say, not exactly the type of military work that people make paintings about. Well, maybe some Warhammer 40k people would, but in general, not exactly the glorious stuff. And now they've had to actually go into the fighting, and guess what? Fighting a 21st century war, especially on the side that seems to be losing, is not fun. None of us want to stand outside in the rain of steel. So this is definitely a major development. It is also very good for the future of the health of locals in the Donbass, because again, this is mostly where all those strikes were launched from. And one of the other interesting things I should bring up about this is, again, who knows, maybe Russian analysts are over-optimistic, or they're consumed by wishful thinking, which many human beings are. It is human nature. But I've always heard for years, even before the war started, that the hot phase of the war, of course, the war was going on between the locals and Kiev for many years. During that phase, I was always told by personally, or sometimes read, the work of analysts in Russia, that essentially beyond Avdeevka, there's really nothing. That was really their ultimate stronghold, and everything to the sort of like sides of it and towards the front lines was, very fortified over the 8-year period. But beyond that, there's not a lot of fortifications. Obviously, you can make a fortification with, shovels. You can dig a trench. You can get an excavator to go out there, which can dig a trench much faster. But when you're talking about like poured concrete with 1 million pieces of rebar in it and layered completely well worked out and planned bunkers and all that stuff, it would seem as though they really don't have anything beyond Avdeevka. That all the effort during the 8 years before the beginning of the war was put in Avdeevka, which is good news for the Russian military, as essentially the best sort of defenses that Kiev is going to be able to mount, of course, will be minefields. As they retreat, they can always put some minefields there, pending they have access to good mines. But mine technology isn't complicated, so they probably should. And traditional, like, sort of early World War I hastily dug trenches, right? Because some of you may know that by the end of World War I, the trench networks became quite complex and nuanced and layered. And when you're in a hurry, that is not going to be the case. So we're talking 1914, 1915 trenches there. So this could give Russian forces, when they're ready to go, free rein to continue to move forward. So yeah, Avdeevka was definitely a major achievement for the Russian military. Again, why? Because it is the striking point from which they were always able to hit the Donbass. So it definitely protects the locals in the Donbass, which was kind of one of the whole purposes of the special military operation. So it accomplishes that goal. It removes one of the last bastions of heavily fortified, in fact, one of the last true bastion of heavily fortified territory that the Ukrainians had that is tough to push through. And the fact that it was given up very quickly without much of a fight, and that the private battalions were sent in there for mysterious reasons, possibly to die or to hopefully, with a few tanks and some APCs, punch through a 21st century army with all the high-tech goodies with no air support. That's a sign that things are definitely going well for the Russians, and we should see the front lines continue to advance, because now it's pretty much, with the exception of, again, minefields and excavator potentially dug trenches, there shouldn't be that much in the way. And maybe some blown up bridges. There could be some rivers to cross. We have to remember, Eastern Europe has a lot of rivers in it. That's why people have lived here successfully for thousands and thousands of years because there's so many rivers. But barring some of those minor natural barriers, this thing should pick up very quickly. So anyways, Avdeevka has fallen. This is a major victory for the Russians, and I just wanted to share with you these interesting news nuances while this issue is still hot, because who knows, if Avdeevka could fall in a month or less, it could a lot of things could change really quickly, friends. Anyways, Tim Kirby Russia, special daytime issue, signing out.